Good day, everyone. Welcome to Blacklogic. 12 dead as Thai and Cambodian forces clash at the border. Thailand seals its frontier, blaming Cambodian provocation. Trump calls Obama a traitor again, and the feud escalates. His birthright citizenship ban faces fierce legal fire. A GOP-led panel demands Epstein files from the DOJ. So now they're subpoenaing the files. We're soon to get them. And Trump defies MLK's family, unleashing secret FBI records. And when I tell you this isn't just news. It's the truth buried behind the headlines. And we're going to give it all to you right here on Blacklogic. Over a dozen people and 11 civilians and a Thai soldier killed in a fierce artillery airstrike due to F-16's attack near Tamil Tom Temple on July 24th. Now, Thailand sealed its border and evacuated 40,000 residents. Cambodian calls it brutal aggression. Thailand insists they were responding to Cambodian shelling of hospitals and villages. So now we have Cambodia and Thailand at war. Now, it seems as though that a lot of regions within the world are at war or some sort of conflict. You have Ukraine and Russia. You had Pakistan, and I believe it was India. I could get those. I have to verify that for you guys. But we know that we have Israel, who are against 3 or 4 particular groups and or countries, Israel and Iran. You have Israel with the Hamas invaders, the terrorist group. So again, the reason why this is important this morning is because we have countries like Cambodia and Thailand. Now, granted, they do have a very friction history, but nonetheless, it seems as though the world is at war more so than it ever has been in a very, very long time. And historical colonial era tensions boil over China begging for calm as diplomats are expelled on both sides. And here's another thing. We have to also look at how China may go to war with Taiwan over that particular piece of land. And Thailand has sealed its border with Cambodia, meaning that nobody is coming in and nobody's coming out. There is no tourists that are from Cambodia that are going into Thailand. They're stopping all import and export when it comes to the relationships between Thailand and Cambodia. Now, I don't know if you guys are aware of this as well, that Trump's obsession with Obama reached new heights this week because on ABC, MSNBC, and all the C's, he called Obama guilty of treason over the 2016 election, referencing an AI-generated arrest video flatly unsubstantiated. Now, that's not a political jab. It's a declaration to a former president, now publicized, criminalized in Trump's own make-believe court. And this is stemming from an old history that I really want you guys to have context. Because on Truth Social, this is what President Trump posted on his feed. I want you guys to listen and look.
Politics forever.
Donald Trump is here tonight.
It was April 30th, 2011, the White House Correspondents' Dinner, a ballroom packed with elites, politicians, journalists, and celebrities. But what they didn't know was that they had just created their worst nightmare.
Congratulations, Mr. President.
Sitting in the crowd that night was Donald Trump. Not yet a politician, just an extremely rich businessman, a guy who dared to challenge the system and got mocked for it.
Donald Trump has been saying that he will run for president as a Republican, which is surprising since I just assumed he was running as a joke.
For weeks, Trump had been hammering Obama on his birthplace of Kenya, and the media, they couldn't handle it. So they did what the elites do best. They tried to humiliate him. And that night, Barack Hussein Obama took the stage and made Trump the punchline.
No one is happier, no one is prouder to put this birth certificate matter to rest than the Donald. And that's because he can finally get back to focusing on the issues that matter. Like, did we fake the moon landing?
The room absolutely loved it. They weren't laughing at a joke, they were laughing at Trump. They wanted him small, embarrassed, and broken. Obama kept swinging, mocking Trump's business, his TV show, and his ambition.
All kidding aside, obviously we all know about your credentials and breadth of experience. Just recently, in an episode of Celebrity Apprentice at the steakhouse, the men's cooking team did not impress the judges from Omaha Steaks. And there was a lot of blame to go around, but you, Mr. Trump, recognized that the real problem was a lack of leadership. And so ultimately you didn't blame Little John or Meatloaf. You fired Gary Busey.
Then came that fake image on the screen. The White House turned into a Trump casino.
Say what you will about Mr. Trump. He certainly would bring some change to the White House. Let's see what we've got up there.
The media howled, but Trump didn't move. That image, Trump sitting still while everyone else laughed, that was the moment. You can almost hear it in his head. Just you wait and see. Then it got worse. The host that night, liberal comedian Seth Meyers, picked up where Obama left off.
Now, before I let you guys hear this next piece, I just want to remind you guys that this, again, is on Trump's own platform, Truth Social. Then this is actually posted on his personal, on his personal Donald J. Trump with the check at the real Donald Trump on his particular feed. So he's letting everybody know, I did not forget. And believe me, when Trump hit back, he hits back below the belt, no less. Now, granted, if Obama, by any imagine of the word, has conspired to overthrow the Trump presidency in 2016, then by all means, he needs to be prosecuted, needs to be arraigned and all those other things. But if this is, again, just a petty hit back, then I believe this is actually absolutely going too far, especially with the AI generated video, which I will let you guys see here in a bit.
Donald Trump often appears on Fox, which is ironic because a fox often appears on Donald Trump's head. If you're at the Washington Post table with Trump and you can't finish your entree, don't worry, the fox will eat it.
The room roared, but Trump didn't flinch. Roger Stone later said it plainly. That's the night he decided to run.
Maybe I'll just run. Maybe I'll show them all.
Trump never admitted it directly, but he didn't have to, because 4 years later, he came down that escalator.
Donald Trump is running for president and made his entrance by coming down the escalator at Trump Tower with his wife, Melania.
We need somebody that literally will take this country and make it great again.
Now, of course, you guys can go look at this for yourself. I didn't want to look through the whole video, but I just want to give you guys some sort of reference and context on how this has played out over the years, how this has revolved, over the years. This is the evolution of Donald Trump, right? They told this man that he couldn't do something. So he set out to do it, and he did it, not once, but twice. But in that, do not forget the reason why Obama made Donald Trump a target at the time is because of the whole birthright citizenship. He's not a citizen. He wasn't born in Hawaii. He was born in Kenya. He should never be president. So again, probably, and a lot of people, again, believe that President Trump operates in the system of white supremacy, never wanted to see a black man in the presidency, but nonetheless, that's history. It has already occurred. Now, President Trump has been the 45th and 47th president. So the reason why this is important, because as we move on, I want to guys show you what President Trump has done and allowed with this AI generated on his own platform. But I'm just going to show you a quick clip here on TikTok. Now, because of copyright, I'm gonna have to just mute the sound here, but you guys can at least look at the video, okay? I have to mute the sound because of copyright, but you guys can at least listen to the sound. Here we go. Now, I'm just going to talk through this again. This is AI generated. This is fake. But President Trump is having the last laugh at President Obama. And that whole situation between them and the church, when they was buddy. Again, you did something so egregious, President Obama, and making fun of a very powerful man at the time. And again, you got your lick back. You got your lick back on President Trump behind the whole birthright censorship. But now, he's going after Obama and he has the power of the presidency. And guess what Obama can't do? Obama cannot get his lick back because he can't be president anymore. But just so I look at this, again, this so I look at this very equally and fairly and very neutrally. Do you guys remember President Trump at one point in time, I was trying to find a video clip for you guys, but at some point in time, he was talking about that presidents should be exonerated for anything that they do. Do you guys remember? And I'm gonna try to find that for you guys as we come into our other piece here. But do you guys remember when President Trump was stating that presidents should not be able to be prosecuted? They should not be able to go to jail. Now he's changing his tune because now they're stating that no one is above the law. And even on his Truth Social piece, he made sure that he caught Obama stating that no one is above the law. I mean, this is absolutely bonkers to me because I don't know how you change your tune so quickly. But again, it's a wacky world we live in.
They tried to stop him again. They impeached him, censored him, rigged debates, but Trump refused to go away. And in 2024, he won again. That dinner in 2011 was supposed to be the end of Trump. Instead, it was the beginning. The elites tried to humiliate him, but he took their mockery and turned it into a movement. He never forgot, and in the end, he got the last laugh. And this was the moment that changed politics forever.
Now, it's as if people forgot about President Trump cry out of presidents being exonerated on anything that they potentially did while they was in the White House. And that because they now have a status of being president that they cannot be prosecuted. But now they're calling for the prosecution of President Obama because of the release of the files that Tulsi Gabbard has released, the DNI. So I'm gonna make sure I keep you guys updated on that as well. Excuse me. Probably need my coffee this morning, but I try not to drink it. Try not to drink coffee that I drink every day. But nonetheless, let me move on, ladies and gentlemen. I know you want to get your news here this morning. Now, this is that Trump pushed to ban birthright citizenship as unconstitutional U.S. court rules. Now, conservative voices are revving up on this whole birthright citizenship. And idiots say that Trump's move to strip its obsession, but toughens the nationalist narrative that conservatives see as broken, and legal experts slam it as unconstitutional. But we're going to watch this play out because there is some trimming of the 14th Amendment. There needs to be a clarification of that constitutional right. And again, to President Trump's point, not that I agree with him with a lot of things, but when it comes to birthright citizenship, it was meant for the descendants of enslaved Black Americans. It wasn't for anyone who slipped under a fence, who snuck under a fence, who overstayed their work or student visa and didn't have children, for them to be U.S. citizen and then anchor them in and tether them into the country so they can stay inside the country. The 14th Amendment was never for that. And I think there's context that need to be stated. Now, and here's the thing that I have with the liberals, right? And I have my issues with the conservatives and the Republicans as well. But the issues I have with the Democrats and the liberals is you guys sway back and forth whenever it suits you. Same as the Republicans. But when it comes to birthright citizenship, and this is the problem I have with a lot of Black Americans who are staunch Democrats, and that they can't understand that that particular constitutional amendment was created during a time. And if you can't read between the lines, if you can't understand that particular time in history, then I don't think anybody should damn near follow the Constitution. I mean, does the Constitution need to be refined? I believe so. Does the Constitution need to be clarified? I believe so. Because not everybody, think about this. Think about this. What if I gave you an example like this? Your mother robbed a bank, and she robbed the bank, let's say, for $10 million. She then transferred that $10 million into your bank account. And then the government states, because of a law, you get to keep that $10 million. To me, it's the same thing. Someone comes into the country illegally. Someone overstays their visa and expires. So they're now in the country illegally. They have a child, and now that child is a legal citizen because of a 14th Amendment of the Constitution that was never clarified and provided context of certain situations. Because again, during that time, these things were not occurring. But again, I want you to think about the bank. Your mom robs the bank for $10 million. She transferred that money inside your bank account, and now you can keep the money, and the law says that you can. How does that make any sense? It does not. That's my point. That is my point, ladies and gentlemen. Now, the House Oversight's Federal Law Enforcement Subcommittee, GOP led, just voted 8-2 to subpoena Department of Justice for Jeffrey Epstein files, including communications with Maxwell. Even Republicans are torn. 3 of them sided with Democrats to force the issue. Mitch McConnell's base is upset Trump's DOJ sat on them, but Trump wants y'all to move on. Well, it seems as though that we have a lot of conservatives and Republicans who want the truth, who want these files released because, again, they voted and there are subpoena the Epstein files. And guess what they have to do? They have to let go of the files. And when they get these files, here's the question. That doesn't mean they're going to be released to the public. Okay, let's be crystal clear here. That does not mean that they will be released to the public. But now we have another faction within the U.S. government that's going to have access to the Epstein files as the American public is applying pressure on the government to release these files. So now we have Democrats and Republicans. That's bipartisan, by the way. Remember, everybody's talking about bipartisanship. Here we go. This is bipartisanship. Now we have them wanting the files as well. And I think we're getting just a bit closer to these files being released. But when I tell you this, ladies and gentlemen, please do not hold your breath. Okay? So I know you guys are aware that the Trump administration has, again, released the Dr. King files. And this is from Executive Order 14176 that you see on the screen. And that was released to the National Archives. And I just want to drill down this a little bit here to kind of give you context of what's been occurring here. Because these files are just confirming a lot of the things that has already been stated. But I do think it's important that we go over it because, again, this is a level of transparency from our government that we have never seen before. Yeah, the government's still hiding a lot of things, but again, things that the American public has been wanting for decades are now being released. Okay, they're now being released, and I think this is very, very imperative, especially when we talk about someone as world changing as Dr. King. I don't think there's no one above this man when it comes to a lot of the social and civil rights changes, not just here in America, folks, but in the world. Because today I'm stepping into a storm because after the release of these files, they were not yet public because it was over 240,000 pages of FBI and assassination records on Dr. King, despite his family's own plea for privacy and respect. Now, granted, I do respect the family, but this is something that a lot of people wanted to know, and I believe they should know because he changed the lives of millions, hundreds of millions of people, not just Black Americans, not just white Americans, Asian Americans, Hispanic Americans, not just Americans in general, but he changed the entire world, him and Malcolm X. And I believe all files should be released when it comes to these two powerhouses. Now, in these files, these documents expose J. Edgar Hoover's FBI using COINTELPRO, which was a covert operation aimed at spying on and harassing, even smearing Dr. King, painting him as a communist, broadcasting allegation about his personal life and leaking those allegations to the press. Now, there are also CIA communications revealing concerns over King's pivot to anti-war and anti-poverty activism and evidence of intense federal scrutiny well before April 4th, 1968. And the King family has warned us that Martin Luther King III and Bernice King pleaded that the files be viewed with empathy, restraint, and within full context, reminding us this isn't just history, it's deeply personal and grief unresolved trauma. They also reiterated their long-held belief that James Earl Ray may not have acted alone, that he had assistance, even from the government, no less. And Trump framed this as transparency move that has been part of a broader package that included JFK and RFK documents. Now, there have been critics. There have been critics like your usual suspects, like Al Sharpton, also the King Sitter. They say that is a distraction from other issues, such as the withheld of the Epstein files. And this is the same thing I've been talking about for the past month or so, that we have a lot of smoke and mirror. We have a lot of distraction that's kind of taken away from the Epstein files being released. And I think, again, this is not a distraction. This is something that he stated that he was going to do, but it's in the timely manner of him doing that. Granted, if I give you guys a reference here, let me show you this very, very quickly, that these records, again, on January 23rd of 2025, they were released and declassified and sent to the National Archives. But now, if you see this particular news story, and this is what, a couple of days ago? It said this was updated July 21st, 2025. And it stated that the Trump administration had released records of the FBI surveillance of Dr. King, despite opposition from the slain Noble Lawrence family and the civil rights group that he led until his 1968 assassination. So again, even though that they were made public record in the National Archives, people were really trying to find where these records were at the time. So let me get something straight right now. The FBI didn't just spy on Dr. King. They declared psychological warfare on him. And by the release of these files, 240,000 pages, the truth is laid bare for the world to see, because this government tried to break him intentionally and systematically. And inside these files are the dirty fingerprints of the U.S. government that we all know and love. Do we not? This is from the U.S. government, folks. This is the government that essentially we know who has been capable of some very demonic, dangerous, racist, discriminatory things. But inside these files, they have all sorts of wiretaps, blackmail attempts, character assassinations that have been all orchestrated by J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI through COINTELPRO, because this wasn't just surveillance. This was terrorism to a man who was changing the world, and they saw it. Now, they followed Dr. King every move. As you comb through these 240,000 pages, they leaked lies to the press. They taped his private life to humiliate him. But they failed because Dr. King stood for something far greater than the hate they had for him and the hate allegedly they had for Black Americans. Because he stood for truth, he stood for equity, and believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, he stood for reparations. That's why a lot of people are being absent-minded about the last days of Dr. King and how he changed his stance, especially if you read one of his last speeches, I've Been to the Mountaintop. Dr. King wasn't assassinated while dreaming about unity. He was assassinated while demanding reparations. $2 trillion worth Dr. King's promissory note wasn't just poetic, $2 trillion. It was economic. He fought for a retribution of wealth to repay the debt owed to descendants of slaves right here in America, starting off with $2 trillion. He knew economic justice was the key to liberation. And to his detriment, and to his words, he stated that America has given the Negro people a bad check, a check which has come back marked insufficient funds. But we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. That's the words of Dr. King. This wasn't charity, it was a debt, a $2 trillion debt. Now that debt is astronomically more so amount today. I know a lot of people are anti-reparationists. Even some Black Americans are anti-reparations. What are you gonna do with the money? They ain't gonna know how to budget the money. Stop watching pockets. Stop trying to tell grown people how to spend their money. If they want to go and buy a Lamborghini, they want to go and buy more sagging pants, then let them. It's money that is owed. Now, the $2 trillion, that's a very conservative estimate by today's standards, but the number is even higher than that, and the number is absolutely overdue. Now, was this transparency or a desperate distraction? Some of y'all think that Trump did this out of principle, but don't be fooled in some regards, because even though he stated that he's going to release the JFK files, MLK files, I'm waiting for the Malcolm X files, I believe this was dumped as political theater, a way to stir division while blocking efforts for reparations, ignoring Black voters, and avoiding accountability on white supremacist infiltration and modern law enforcement, because we still have it today. It was just not too long ago, it was a clip that came out recently, but I believe it stemmed back from 2023 of a young man inside of his vehicle, a college student. He was a Black young man with, long hair. I believe he had either dreadlocks or plaits or whatever, but he was a foundational Black American. He was sitting in his car, and they told him that they pulled him over because he didn't have his headlights on during the day, even though that the police vehicle, the police cruisers, drove up to the scene without headlights on. Now, I don't know any state law. I believe this was in Georgia. I could be mistaken when it comes to the state. Again, this is kind of off the top of my head of something I saw very briefly. But nonetheless, they stated that it was against the law, and he was asking what law did he break. Now, granted, on my X account, I put that, did he comply? No. They gave him commands. Okay, they gave him commands of exiting the vehicle, but he was exercising his constitutional right. Now, granted, can two things be right and wrong at the same time? Absolutely. The world is complex, ladies and gentlemen. Were the police officers violating his constitutional right? Yes. Did he comply with their commands? No. Were their commands constitutionally correct? No. But should he have followed through with their commands? Yes, because again, we understand what happened to Black men. We understand what happened to Black people when, even though we're unarmed, we understand what happens to us when we don't listen to a lot of these race soldiers with badges. Are all police officers racist, prejudiced? No. Are all police officers deal in a system of brutality? No. But unfortunately, all the bad apples that wear the badge oversee and overveil all the good officers who don't deal in that. So again, these people have a natural fear, which again, America is a police state because we have more law enforcement than any other country in the world. But then there's not going to be some people who stand for this. And I'm glad this young man still has his life today. Now, Dr. King. Now, even Dr. King's children said it, that the release was not for the people. It was against their wishes. And I can understand where that's coming from. But you're talking about one of the most prominent and powerful figures in history. And everybody, scholars, historians, everybody, people in empowerment, they want to know what happened. And I can understand respecting the family, but I think the family was off accord on this one. They was off one on this one. Now, unless there's some things that are going to expose Dr. King's personal dealings, because I'd heard rumors that Dr. King stepped outside his marriage a couple of times. That still doesn't take away from what the man has done. I don't know why people look at their personal account of other people, men and women alike, and because they did something personally that doesn't coincide with what they do publicly, that really casts a dark shadow on everything they did. I don't believe that. I don't believe that at all. But I think I'm gonna go a little bit deeper on this as I continue to kind of comb through a lot of these records, because there's so much to be said here. But I'm gonna let you guys know what I find, and I'm gonna be quick and fast about it. Because today, I feel a little bit off this morning. Because again, is this a distraction from the Epstein files, or is just President Trump fulfilling his promise? The timing is critical. And that's why my timing is off.